Welcome to the Research Culture Uncovered podcast, where in every episode we explore what is research culture and what should it be. You'll hear thoughts and opinions from a range of contributors to help you change research culture into what you want it to be.
Hello, I'm Tony Bromley and welcome to Research Culture Uncovered podcast. This is season 2. In season 2, we are talking to presenters from the Researcher Education and Development Scholarship Conference, the 2022 conference. The conference theme was How Do We Stop Losing Talent in Research Careers? And we talked about a host of aspects of research culture. Particularly today, we are going to talk about that very common aspect of the isolated doctoral researcher. With me today, I have Paula and Laura, and their presentation title was Getting Together to Overcome Research Loneliness in Two Argentinian Virtual Writing Groups. So if I could ask you to introduce yourselves. Paula, if you could introduce yourself for us.
Okay, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Paula Espeche. I'm a literature professor at Universidad Nacional de Cuyo in Mendoza, Argentina. I am also a doctoral student. I study concurrent virtual writing groups.
Now pass over to Laura. Did you mute there, Laura? Was there some dog barking in the background?
Yeah, I muted that.
That's good. If you could introduce yourself, Laura. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Laura Colombo, but everybody calls me Violeta. I'm an adjunct researcher for the National Council, Research Council in Argentina. I'm based at the University of Buenos Aires. I have been researching writing groups since 2012. And well, I'm working, I have the honor to be Paula's supervisor. We have been working together for a little bit more than a year now. And we are conducting research on that topic.
That's great, thank you. And you mentioned Violetta. That was the reference to your love of the color purple.
Yep.
Which is nice.
I have been wearing a stripe of hair, almost 2 decades now. So,
and why not?
Yep.
Okay, if we could come to the questions in relation to the work that you've done. So, Paula, it seems really common in doctoral studies that there can be feelings of loneliness. So what do you see as the common reasons for why feelings of loneliness, if I can say the word loneliness correctly, so what do you see as the common reasons for why feelings of loneliness can arise?
Yeah, unfortunately it is really common. And I think first we need to link these feelings of loneliness with the experience of isolation. And isolation can come in many forms. It could be physical isolation. For example, for international students, they have to move from one city or one country. They need to adapt to a new academic context, sometimes adapting to a new language. They need a space to be alone, to write, and this can be really disruptive within their common daily routines, and also can cause feelings of loneliness. Also, isolation can come from interpersonal bonds. There is a real strong need for good social networks when students are doing their thesis dissertation. The most important bond, it's with the supervisors, but also with their friends and family. As I said, this could be really disruptive within the daily routines. So it needs to be important to have a strong support. And also with the peers, it's good to have someone that can empathize with what you're feeling, that they can give you recommendations, tools, maybe some readings. Particularly for humanities and social science students, it's a group that are particularly prone to feelings of isolation rather than students that work on a lab or on a broader research group. Also, there are aspects that are inherent to the doctoral journey because this is a highly demanding studies that it could be a transition from course taker to knowledge producer, and this type of studies can cause us these feelings of isolation because they can make the work balance quite difficult, and also the competitive research culture. It can generate stressful environments that can actually make us feel really lonely.
It's interesting you mentioned the differences in disciplines as well. It can kind of discipline aspect to it, although you can on the laboratory side you can be lonely in a crowd as well. It is a possible thing, but yeah, I appreciate that. So how have you found the writing groups of support researchers in helping with loneliness, Paula?
First of all, there are many studies that indicate the importance of these types of initiatives in order to cope with feelings of isolation and loneliness. And also, within the different interviews that we made to our writing groups and also some memoirs that our participants have made, it's said by the participants that they can cultivate horizontal relationships with people from different disciplines. So they create new relationships with their peers. They engage in relevant discussions about science and about the way of being in the academia. They also can share texts, resources, tools that can be helpful within their journey. And so in one of the writing groups, we call the space, to Las Vegas, in the way of saying what happens
Yes.
here stays here.
Yes. I like that terminology. That's a nice term. Yeah. I was going to move over to Laura now, I think. Can you tell us more about your study and what you actually did?
During the first groups that I was a coordinator or a facilitator, I like it better, I was part of the groups. So I would present my texts and I would also be a participant. I was kind of like the organizer, facilitator, and I was also participating. Then I started only facilitating these groups. And then I facilitated the facilitators. So, so there were different ways of implementing these groups. So my role changed over the years.
Yes.
And it's very interesting because the way that we implemented these groups kind of like changed with every time that we inaugurated new groups. So this is actually, I think, good for research because it's giving us some longitudinal point of view, which is not so common for this kind of initiatives. Even though the participants changed, and we have been we talk because we belong to a research team. So
yes,
we actually don't always do not only preach about it, but we actually do it. We try not to work alone because we always think that working with peers it's enriching and better. So we are trying different ways of implementing this group. So when you ask, so how do you actually, yes, what do you do? It's like, we do a million things. We have been doing a million things.
Yeah, well, I was thinking the scale of this as well from what you've said previously when we've talked previously. There's quite a scale to this, isn't it? You've done more than one or two reading or writing groups, haven't you? There's a lot of them.
Actually, to date, I think that we have over 25 writing groups. I started in Argentina coordinating a writing group inside the research team that I belonged at that time in 2012. Then in 2015, I called some ex-students from a graduate seminar. And then I worked with an Ecuadorian colleague, and she started implementing writing groups in Ecuador. And in 2021, I worked with colleagues from Uruguay. So we implemented response writing groups online. Yeah. So yeah, and as far as we know, I mean, we have been, at least the groups that I coordinated were the first ones in Latin America. Right. And in 2020, we started participating with Paula in in a Latin American group where we meet with other colleagues from Latin American countries. And they started to implement writing groups in their own institutions. So it's a brand new field, and we are very happy to have people with whom exchange data and discuss what we are finding. I mean, we're still learning about all this.
I was just wondering, when you've got that many different writing groups, and they've probably got nuances that are quite slightly different to each one. I just thinking for people listening, is there perhaps the most recent one you could perhaps there's people quite like the practicalities of things, how it's the detail of how it's actually done. Perhaps could you describe the most recent one? Perhaps do you meet once a month, once every 6 months? Does it last 10 years, 2 years? Just to give us just choose one of them and just give us an example of how one of them is working.
Well, the concurrent writing groups that Pau coordinates or facilitates, they meet once a week. And actually, she has several meeting times. They work similarly to Shut Up and Write. You meet with other people, you gather, you work on your text, and there are different sessions during the week, so people can join. The session they choose. The response writing groups, or the review groups, they are also called, that I coordinated. The last run was with professors from a university in Uruguay. The other groups keep on working. There are like 7 groups working here in Argentina that I facilitate the facilitators. Yeah. And in this type of groups, the meetings ideally are every 2 weeks, because they have 3 members or 4 members each group. So this gives the possibility that each month and a half, everybody is going to present a new draft. So, and it gives them time to review in depth, because these type of groups demand for people to sit down, read, and give feedback to their group mates.
Yeah.
So ideally, they start every 15 days. But later, we have been discovering that each group kinds of like, they come up with their own rhythm. So if they find that 15 days, like 2 weeks is too long, they meet earlier, or because the idea is for the group to work in an autonomous way.
Right.
That's what you want to achieve as a facilitator, for the group not to need you. I mean, because basically what we want is to create a safe space where people can get and receive feedback. And not any kind of feedback. That's the other characteristic of the review groups, is that you have to learn how to give and receive comments.
Yes.
That
can be a difficult one. Yes. I'm just looking at trying to bring things together a bit, actually. I'm looking at the questions I was going to ask you. What would you say are the main findings then? So it's not like a sales pitch, is it? But after the work that you've done for so many years, particularly, what would you say are the main findings?
Absolutely. These type of groups offer visibility to the writing, which it sounds kind of obvious, but it's not. We are expected to produce and write a lot in academia, but we're barely given spaces and time to do that. And we tend to conceptualize writing as a solitary activity. And actually, it shouldn't be that way, because there is a lot of dialogue going on, especially in academic writing. I mean, you are constantly inviting other people to your text. And we think, I mean, what we have been finding is that these writing groups offer an opportunity to actually open up new spaces where people do academia in a very different way, and which is a collaborative way. That we have been noticing in the review groups and in the concurrent writing groups. So even people who just gather to write, sit down and write, shut up and write, that even happens, because in the opening and closing moments, people figure out that other academics go through very similar processes that they do, and of course this helps questioning these ways of enacting these literacy practices. Another thing that we found out with the Ecuadorian colleague, we wrote an article that interdisciplinary writing groups actually work. And they are helpful because they widen the audience for those who are writing in their own field, and they also help exchanging with colleagues, and you learn that science is not done everywhere in the same way, which is also very, very enriching.
Yes.
There is not so much competitivity, so that helps as well. And it gives participants a sense of empowering, because they're not just going out there for their papers to be shredded or destroyed by reviewers.
Yes.
They had a friendly way. And related to that, I have, at least in the review groups, I have also found that people find this type of space very, very useful to learn how to give feedback, not only to colleagues, but also to when they act as supervisors or when they are grading students' papers. Even though there are different types of feedback, of course, when you're grading an undergrad paper, or when you are like giving feedback to a PhD student, but they found that these ways of commenting, not correcting the text, tend to be very useful.
No, it's interesting that you've in the title of your presentation you talked about loneliness, and it's interesting to see how the writing group supports people from sort of moving away from being lonely. But you've mentioned so many other aspects of research culture within what you've just said. It's interesting, right? I just want to pull things together actually. To summarize, I wondered if I feel like I might be putting Paula under pressure here because you're the one doing the doctorate currently. I'm going to ask if there's going to be any publications. Perhaps Paula, are you able to? Yeah, I've not been fair asking you this question in front of your supervisor, but you know.
Okay. So the question is if there's going to be any other publications.
Will there be publications, or there may be ones? Perhaps Violetta, Laura has some she could mention. But yes,
there will be.
Yes, there will be publications. Yes, good.
People who are listening can't see me, but I'm moving my head up and down. Yes.
I was checking if I was understanding the question. Yes.
There will be publications. Great. Yeah. People who listen to podcasts, we will put links into the show notes for the podcast for any if you have a link for publications, so people can get to those publications. I think that was all I was going to ask you. So thank you for joining us, and thank you. Well, thank you for joining us. I'll leave it like that. So thank you to Paula and Laura. Say goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thanks for listening to the Research Culture Uncovered podcast. Please subscribe so you never miss out on our brand new episodes. And if you're enjoying the discussions, give us some love by dropping a 5-star rating and written review, as it helps other research culturists find us. And please share with a friend and show them how to subscribe. Email us at academicdev@leeds.ac.uk. Thanks for listening, and here's to you and your research culture.